Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to our first video series after Ramadan has ended. And as you can see, the setting here is different today. This video was taken by a GoPro, and our iPhones are our mics. So probably along with our voices, you will be hearing some of the background sounds of nature, sounds of kids playing around, some birds. And guess where we are currently? Where do you think we are? Where do you know we are?
Yeah, in Sydney.
So this is, I think, Hyde Park in Sydney. And me and my wife here, we are just out for a short holiday before she heads back to Singapore. Literally an hour before we're supposed to be at the airport, we are right here doing our recording.
Yes.
Because we've been asked to, be featured as guest speakers for this month series. So let me do a quick introduction of our guest speaker here today. Might be very familiar to some of you, might be not very familiar to some of you. This is Mu'atira. She is my wife, and she will be joining us for this month's kind of series of videos that we're going to talk about sacrifice in Islam. This video series is the theme for May and early June, and as you guys know, coming up will be Dhul Hijjah, which will be Hari Raya, Idul Adha coming up. And as with every Idul Adha coming up, there will be some of our friends and family members going out for Hajj. Some of our friends and family members will be fasting the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. Some of us, hopefully most of us will be doing our Qurban. Another exciting time of the year to be kind of tightening our belts, focus a bit more on worship and reconnecting with God. And the theme of these few weeks, this part of the Islamic calendar, and of course the legacy behind these few days is pegged to sacrifice, which is why almost everything centers around the act of sacrifice in one form or another. Hajj is associated with a big sacrifice, and Hajj only happens in Dhul Hijjah, right? And the Qurban is literally sacrificing an animal, right? A sacrificial animal to be distributed amongst the community. We are asked to fast as a sunnah, first 10 days for Dhul Hijjah, and that is also about sacrifice. And that's when the team was coming together. We were thinking about, since everything is about sacrifice, why not we do a series about sacrifice this month? And one of the reasons why you're seeing my wife on the podcast, on the video here today, is because she went to Hajj last year. Alhamdulillah, may Allah accept all of sincere intentions and the strive. And we wanted to tap on someone who has been on the experience somewhere down the rest of these episodes to talk about the sacrifices required for Hajj. And we're gonna just start off this series by talking a little bit about sacrificing in general as a Muslim, sacrificing in general for us people. What does it mean, right? And of course, like with everything about religion and with everything about having God consciousness, sometimes it's also a little bit about reframing. So what we understand of sacrifice and what Allah or God instructs us to see of it is slightly different. And hence, in the coming few minutes, episodes, we're going to try to see what are these differences. Hopefully for the newer Muslim, for those who are exploring religion, we see that, hey, like, why, and the question that always comes to our minds are like, hey, why does God ask of us to sacrifice, right? And if God is all powerful and is self-sustaining and is independent, why does he need our sacrifice, right? And in which the gist of it is, God then answers in the Quran. He says it is not the sacrifice or the meat or what you do that reaches him, right? It's the sincerity and the piety and the God consciousness that reaches God, right? And when you unpack that a little bit, then you start to realize that, okay, this is the reframing that is needed, right? We think about sacrifice, we think that sacrifice is always connotated with giving and just giving and no taking, right? And God Allah with this simple verse in the Quran reframes everything, right? So let's just like jump straight into it. This episode we're going to talk about laying the foundations. What do we understand of sacrifice? So With my lovely guest speaker here today, we just like to ask, like, what is sacrifice to you?
Okay. Assalamualaikum everyone. So as Siddiq has mentioned, my name is Mu'atira, and I am here today because I went to Hajj. But please forgive me in advance for any of like my shortcomings or any of my flaws. Just here to share my experiences, inshallah, and may it be of benefit, inshallah. Um, what does sacrifice mean to me? I think that sacrifice, just in like layman terms, probably just means like giving up something that um probably means something to you, like that would otherwise be something that you wouldn't want to give up, like you want to keep it, right? So like maybe because of our like maybe because we like it or we want it, or it's difficult to do that, you know. So sacrificing in general would require effort, and yeah, basically like taking a part of something. They will be difficult to do.
So I think what you're trying to say is that, like, with sacrifice, there's an element of not necessarily wanting to give it up, or
Yeah,
having difficulty in giving something up.
yeah.
Sometimes even like not understanding why you might need to give it up. But nevertheless, going through with it. Nevertheless, going through with it. And I think, like, for me, coming to religion, understanding it from like a non-religious perspective, like sacrifice, when we talk about it, it's always like one-sided. It's always me just giving and not having anything in return. Like, I'm sacrificing my time for you, right? That's when people use the word sacrifice, is because they're trying to say that I'm giving up so much of this for you and I'm not getting much in return, and hence it's a sacrifice, right? And interestingly, we like to also explore sacrifice and scope it in the lives of a Muslim, right? For us Muslims, what do you think like sacrifice means? More contextually, sacrifice. Yeah, doesn't have to be like definition of sacrifice or like the right answer, but rather like
Experience.
I can start. Like, sacrifice means to me like all of the things in our lives that we have to change to live a life of Islam.
Yep.
And a lot of these things not necessarily manifest in your life directly or immediately once you change your lives or give certain things up. But nevertheless, at that point of choosing to leave it, or at that point of change, that is a sacrifice, right? You might not fully understand it, you might not want to part with it. It is a sacrifice. What about for you? Is it similar or is it slightly different?
Yeah, I think like I guess I can zoom into like more of like the Muslim point of view, right? Because like some things that we have to like sacrifice is, for example, like having to wear our hijab, right? And especially as like new Muslims, or like our revert sisters, like that is a huge change for them, right? Like change in like wardrobe, and Singapore is so hot, so it's not easy, but it's a beautiful thing, like sacrifice, because you choose to do it because you love, like and we just jump to it, like loving like Allah. And like sometimes we think like, okay, maybe we are so scared to wear the tudung also, because like it's like you have to be ready for it, and then like you keep waiting for the time where you think like you are ready, but then like sometimes it's just hard, like it doesn't come. Sometimes it's just like impulse, like you like, okay, today I want to wear, then like suddenly, like, because it's a hard decision, like it's a hard thing to do, but like you just do it because like you know that it's an obligation. And so like when you wear it, and then it's hard and it's challenging, but then you know that like Allah is rewarding you for it. And I feel like that's the beautiful thing in Islam, like everything like with its intentions is rewarded, and like Allah is seeing everything is a sacrifice. Like in Islam, even if you wake up early in the morning and then you feel so tired because like you have to go to work, but then you think like, okay, I'm going to work because I want to earn money to provide for my family, because that's my obligation as a Muslim. And then like even that becomes like a reward for you, like from Allah. And like and like everything that you're doing is like something that is like intentional and like rewarded by Allah. It's like so beautiful lah, and it kind of like scopes and gives you purpose throughout like life. Yeah.
I think this word sacrifice is, especially like at this time of the year, as you said, it's very picks the minds of a lot of us Muslims. And the question that always comes to mind, or a doubt, a seed of uncertainty that comes to our minds, is always thinking like, why must I sacrifice? Or sometimes like you just have this unanswered question, like, what does my sacrifice do for God? And like, why am I asked to do this, right? And a lot of doubts like this are used by people who are against religion or faith in general to plant seeds in our minds, you know, that gets us to question our faith, right? Because we don't understand, they're using certain concepts that we don't yet fully understand to confuse us, to bring us doubts, right? And what you shared earlier is a glimpse into how Muslims can understand it, right? We us Muslims talk about sacrifice, and what is interesting is that sacrifice as a word has been more commonly used by our generations, these few generations that, you know, in the times that we live in, as compared to the people of the past, right? Because the word sacrifice is only used when you are parting with something that is really close to your heart, right? And which is why in the story of Prophet Ibrahim, may peace be upon him, alayhi wasallam, he was asked to sacrifice his son, right? And then it was called a sacrifice, right? But part of the creed of a Muslim, part of the like anchors of faith of a Muslim, we have 6 pillars of iman, 6 pillars of faith, right? And one of the biggest reasons why one of these pillars of faith is belief in the hereafter, right? Belief on the day of judgment, right? Is because in the day of judgment, you will be recompensated for the things you've done in this life. All good and for all bad, right? And whatever goodness a person does, he will be rewarded for it. Whatever evil that a person does, he will be rewarded for it, right? And the reason why it's so important for us to have firm belief in that pillar of faith is because then as Muslims you realize that nothing is a sacrifice per se, because when your belief extends to a hereafter, this is not the only life that you're going to live.
Yes.
Right? And in fact, this life as compared to the next is something as described by those who would actually know the reality of it as just a few passing moments, right? A few, and those who are less cognizant of the reality will say, okay, maybe just a few days. And when then you realize that the rewards that you'll be getting for what you're giving up is something that is more everlasting and on a more noble and greater scale and this is what you're receiving, then God calls for you to reframe what you're thinking as a sacrifice, as something that is at the very least transactional. You're getting something returned, right? So which is why people of the past, they don't really use sacrifice, because they had, like, first and foremost, the difference between us and them is that they had understanding of the hereafter. They had that firm belief, okay, it exists, right? I'm not giving this up for nothing, right? This is not like me giving and not taking return. This is me kind of like putting a long-term fixed deposit and reaping the rewards of it in the hereafter. And that's first and foremost the biggest differences between people of the past and us. And another big element of this is also gratitude. One of the biggest things that we are asked to wrap our heads around as Muslims is that we are given certain blessings that we have not done much to deserve. The gift of life, unconditional love from our parents, the gift of faith. The faith is the key to the hereafter. Right? And when you understand that, you realize that one of the most basic human instincts is to be grateful. If someone gives you a cup of coffee, buys you a cup of coffee, you say thank you, because you are trying to assign gratitude to the person who has bought you a cup of coffee. Right. And the follow-up question for someone who really understands it and thinks is that, what about someone who has given you life? What about someone that has given you everything that you have, your parents, all that you care for and everything? Right? Isn't gratitude a part of your relationship with this higher being we call God? For us Muslims, we know as Allah. Right? And then the next level that Allah asks of us to see this as is that this is gratitude. Right? It is not transactional, it's not a sacrifice. This is simply part and parcel of the things that you do to show gratitude for the things that you're given.
Yep.
And hence, when we talk about sacrifice, I think coming to Hajj, coming to Hijrah, we're going to talk a little bit about specific sacrifices. But as a Muslim, sacrifice is slightly different. And since you opened it up, so I just wanted to kind of touch on that topic. And let's then go into a little bit about, okay, yeah, you maybe understand sacrifice, but it's still not easy. Like giving up something that you have attachment to is not easy, right?
Yep.
So
Maybe I can add me.
oh, you want to add something? Okay, go for it.
Okay. I think like the first part where he mentioned about like that that there is like everlasting, like you are reaping like rewards, right? And like the whole idea is quite like it's quite like amazing lah. And like again, it gives you like purpose and gives you like meaning to whatever that you do. And that's like such a beautiful thing to have, because like without Islam, like life just feels like very like going with the flow and like just doing things for the sake of doing things. And then like but then like when you have all these like things, that there is like the day of judgment, that like everything that you are doing like will be rewarded, is like an amazing thing. Like going back to the hijab, right? Like can you think like you are sacrificing? For me, when I was younger, like I sweat a lot. Like when it's really hot, like I sweat like so easily. But then like my sisters don't, okay? So I always like feel jealous of my sisters, cause like when we all wear the hijab, then my sisters are like look amazing, no sweat at all. And then like I'm just sweating so much, and then there'll be like stains on my tudung. And then there was once like my sister like pointed that out to me, and then she looked at me, and then she said like like she calls me Atira. She said like, Atira, like you sweat so much. I said, yeah, I know, and it's so difficult because like I wear tudung and we all wear tudung, and then everything just gets so like greasy. And then she says like, that's amazing because you will get like so much more rewards than us, because like for every sweat that like that drop of sweat, like it will weigh heavily on your scale like on the day of judgment.
Yeah.
And that like changed so much for me. That I was like just so many years ago. I don't even think my sister remembers this, but like I think of that not just in that sense,
Like
but
every time
like,
you sweat.
yeah, and like in every other sense, like
Yeah.
to think that whenever you sacrifice more than someone else, or like or you feel like you are giving up so much, like that is when like your rewards are doubled, tripled, and like Allah is seeing everything. And like I think that just gives me so much like comfort.
Yeah. I think that's a very good point that you brought up. Like very, very sharing to those who are finding it difficult to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And every sacrifice is different for everyone.
Correct.
As we are coming to the last hour of our trip here in Sydney, we're also parting and going back to work, and you're going back to Singapore.
Yes.
And that's also sacrifice, and like the difficulty is different for everyone.
Yes.
It's your own journey.
Yep.
And the beautiful thing about faith is that it's never about then going back to what God says in the Quran, right? It's not the actual act that reaches Allah, right? Two might be doing the same thing, wearing the same hijab.
Yep.
But it is the piety and the God consciousness that reaches him. Because someone might be met with the same difficulty that you are in, and not be able to meet the same sacrifice. But yet you're here and it's more difficult for you, and you're making that sacrifice. That is what is reaching Allah, right? He says, because you are God conscious, right? You know that it is more difficult, yet you still want to do it, right? And this is what reaches Allah.
Yeah, sure.
And maybe before the end of this particular episode, just like to let's just like do like a quick fire round, right?
Okay.
The question that I've been given is, what are some overlooked but powerful small sacrifices in your life, right?
Okay.
Some overlooked but powerful small sacrifices in our lives.
Okay.
So let's each name like 3. as a Muslim, or I don't know, as anything.
Okay.
And then, yeah, overlooked but powerful small sacrifices in our daily lives.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna start. Overlooked but powerful small sacrifices in our daily lives. For every snack that we want to eat, we have to go through a list of 50 to 70 ingredients and search up numbers on Google.
Yeah.
I think that's a sacrifice. What about you?
Waking up early in the morning. Subuh.
That's the very first thing, huh?
I'm not a like big like morning person, but like, you know, like Islam encourages you to be up early when people are sleeping, and like
Yeah.
like what's our excuse, right? So like that push, and like to be there when like everyone else is sleeping, and like
Yeah.
that connection with God, like
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Okay. I think dressing up. I think the flexibility of like wearing shorts. I came from a non-Muslim background.
Yeah.
You just giving that up and finding ways to lay up without, exposing your modesty. That's a pretty big sacrifice.
Yeah.
Okay, for me it's like
Mm.
invocations, like you, before I write I recite something, before I eat you recite something, before you go to the washroom you leave the washroom. Like these are some things that like maybe for us converts the issue is, or the challenge is, we have to learn it.
Yep.
And we have to practice it.
Yep.
It's often overlooked but very powerful because you are able to connect to God through your du'as and invocations. So for me that's okay. You have to come with the last one.
I wasn't thinking. By the way, I always copy his answers.
Yep.
So I'm struggling, yeah.
You have to do this alone.
No. Okay. But what about overlooks? Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard this like from multiple like people also, like sometimes like when you go to work, like you have to explain yourself when you want to find halal food. You have to explain yourself when you want to go pray.
Yeah.
You have to you want to engage in like
Social
office
interactions,
gossips.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And like you have to stay away from all these things, and then like you have to make time for like your Islamic things. So like the whole like process is like by in and on itself like difficult, but like it's like dawah. And like I was telling Sidi the other day, like it's amazing when you meet like all these like revered sisters and brothers, and then you realize that every single interaction that you have with like everyone matters so much, because like it
You know
shapes
the kind of impact you have on their life.
and like it shapes the way you think, not just like it's you as a person, but also as like you as a Muslim.
Yeah.
And so like
Yeah.
everything matters, guys. Like so even in office, if it's tough, it's okay, like explain, maybe they learn something or two about like Islam. It's a big sacrifice to take time out to go and pray and like to eat halal food and stuff like that, but Allah sees it all, and the people see it too.
Yeah, I think like just living life as a Muslim, that in itself is like compilation of sacrifices. But in the next episode, we're gonna talk about some of the examples that have been given to us from the people of the past, the prophets, even maybe perhaps if you have time, some of the people of the pious. That teaches us a little bit about how to sacrifice and how to view sacrifices. So we'll see you in the next episode. For now, from Sydney Hyde Park, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.